Out of this story, President Biden sparked a wave of bipartisan backlash this week, announcing the sweeping pardon of his son Hunter. But according to new Politico reporting, it may not be the only pardon that Biden grants. Jonathan Martin reports this. President Joe Biden's senior aides are conducting a vigorous internal debate over whether to issue preemptive pardons to a range of current and former public officials who could be targeted with President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House. One House Democrat already has some ideas about who should be on that list.
Jack Smith's name is on my list. Liz Cheney's name is on my list. I think that they all should be preemptively pardoned because I think there are people who Trump may bring into this government who will go after these people in a serious way, and there's no need to subject them to that.
The panel is back. Kate Bedingfield, how real do you think this is, and how important does the White House see this?
Oh, I think it's real. I think they are, look, you heard President Biden and then Vice President Harris on the campaign trail talk about what they believed Donald Trump's abuses of power would mean. And I think that they're taking every opportunity here to explore the options they have left in the time that they have left in office to protect people who may be subject to that attack. So yes, I think it is absolutely a serious process they're undergoing. We'll see what the ultimate outcome is, but I would imagine that Biden views this as an opportunity to ensure that people who don't deserve to be targeted in that way aren't.
People in the White House and the Biden campaign and then the Harris campaign had legitimate fears during the race of what would happen if Trump won, really fearing potential legal persecution and also like what the cost would do. That being said, the context here matters, and that this is coming right after a lot of Democrats are very upset with how Joe Biden rolled out his pardon of his son Hunter, doing it as a one-off, as being like, oh, I'm very, very concerned about political persecution, and I'm only doing my son. And they're like, well, if you're so worried, then why not include this with lots of other people? And so you have to put it within the context of that. I think that's part of the reason why some of these stories are coming out now.
All right. Still ahead here on CNN this morning. After their sweeping election losses 1 month ago, Democrats now trying to chart a path